Welcome back everyone to Three Acorn Bourbon. Really excited about today's bite-sized bourbon review. In fact, I opened this bottle just for this review. It's the Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend. Now sometimes cigar blends have tobacco flavors to them, but oftentimes they're blended to match well with the powerful flavors and powerful scents of a cigar. And that can be tricky, because if it's too subtle, the cigar will overpower it. But if the flavors are overpowering, you're not going to want to drink it. So let's get into it and explore the Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend Bourbon. Joseph Magnus Bourbon is made by Magnus Distillery, located in Washington, D.C. The distillery is known for revitalizing the legacy of pre-Prohibition distiller Joseph A. Magnus. Their whiskeys undergo meticulous blending and often unique finishing processes, resulting in impressive and distinctive expressions, like their cigar blend. The story of Magnus Distillery starts all the way back in the American Civil War. In 1864, young Joseph Magnus learned that his father had died in combat. Magnus was the oldest of 4 children, and had to figure out a way to take care of his younger siblings. Now his father had been a merchant, so Magnus took after his father and became a businessman. It wasn't long before Joseph Magnus learned there was a niche market for wholesale liquor. And by the time he was 26, he'd established a liquor empire outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. So the Joseph A. Magnus company that we see on the bottle is actually the second iteration of the company. The first, originally founded by Joseph Magnus in 1892, and they produced whiskey until Prohibition took over. The brand was revitalized in 2015 by Joseph Magnus's great-grandson. The story goes the great-grandson found a couple of unopened bottles with his family's namesake on them. Apparently these bottles were opened up and a couple of test samples were taken. The family loved them, the critics loved them, the company was re-established in 2015, and the company now focuses on blending and finishing techniques originally practiced by Joseph Magnus. The first one, the older one. Now, just like my previous video covering the barrel craft spirits, Joseph Magnus Company is known for meticulous blending, carefully selecting and combining barrels to achieve a sought-after flavor profile. Now, if we're going to talk about the whiskey blending market, we have to talk about MGP. So MGP, Midwest Grain Product, is a major distillery known for producing high-quality whiskey, most often used by other brands. Their facility, located in Lawrence, Indiana, has been operating since 1847 and has a rich history in American whiskey production. Now, MGP is renowned for its rye-forward mash bills, contributing to the popularity of rye in recent years. But they have a wide range of mash bills, allowing for the production of all different kinds of whiskeys. They make bourbons and ryes and even unique blends, and many well-known whiskey brands source their spirits from MGP. You can often tell if your whiskey is sourced from MGP by the label. If it says distilled in Indiana, there's a good chance it's MGP. And this isn't a bad thing. MGP makes great whiskey. The fear is that smaller brands, who aren't distilling their own spirits yet and have to source from MGP, might not be getting MGP's best barrels, and MGP might be saving their best stuff for the bigger brands. But that's all hypothetical. You'll have to taste it and decide for yourself. Now, we can't talk about the Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend without talking about Nancy Farley. She started off as a cognac distiller and was introduced to some cognac cigar blends. The story has it one night she was smoking a pipe, which she does from time to time, and had the thought, could we do a cigar blend bourbon? Turns out you can. She got a job with the Joseph Magnus Company and Magnus Distillery and took off running with their cigar blend bourbon program. Now, the Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend bourbon is known for taking bourbon sourced from all different kinds of places, including MGP. And these bourbons are blended with some of Joseph Magnus's in-house blends, including their famous triple cask bourbon, which is finished in both sherry and cognac barrels. Now, this blend is then itself finished in Armagnac barrels for a rich, complex, sweet, fruity bourbon. And I just opened the bottle for this video. I haven't tried this yet, and I can't wait. So let's get into it already. Time for the tasting notes. Just from that pour, you can tell this is a cigar blend. Wow, my entire room smells of really good bourbon. Now, what's really cool about this bourbon is that each batch is a little different from the one previous. And Joseph Magnus puts public tasting notes online. So if you buy a bottle, you can find your batch number and go look up what the distiller thought of this batch. Mine, batch 224, doesn't have its notes online yet. And I'll be interested to see how the batch notes compare to my thoughts. Man, just look at that color. Well, let's see what we get from the nose. Wow. I mean, initially it's fruits. It's pear, It's fig, and it's a lot of like dark rum fruits. It's different from the brighter fruits you get from a Buffalo Trace. This is much darker, more decadent. And of course you get the vanilla and the caramel. But again, it smells much darker. There's a maple syrup, like whole wheat pancakes, and a pecan pie, and a marshmallow cream. I almost get a little bit of sweetness from a pipe tobacco. And let's see what kind of notes carry over to the palate. So you definitely still get the fruit. I'm getting fig pudding and dates. But there's plenty of other fruit too. There's apple, apricot, some orange and citrus. There's caramel and maple syrup. But then that moves into a bread pudding and then like a roasted butterscotch. And lots of excellent spices on this. You get the pipe tobacco flavors. But there's cinnamon and then like it's almost like a ginger spiciness. It's original, it's big, it's bold, it's delicious. And the finish is sweet and smoky. It's figs, it's vanilla beans, it's candied pecan, lots of really good rye spice. And that initial sip will give you a little bit of heat, but as soon as your palate wakes up, that heat's gone. I mean, it's an excellent bourbon, and I haven't tasted anything quite like it. It's got a great nose, a great taste, a great finish, and this unique X factor. It's rare that any one bourbon gives you all those things in one. And for an MSRP close to $200, it better perform. And it certainly does, but it's still an expensive bottle. And with so many excellent whiskeys around the $60 price range, I recommend ordering one at a bar or trying some of your buddies before you go out and buy a bottle of your own. However, you won't be disappointed, it's just really expensive. That being said, I'm happy with my purchase. It's good. Alright, that's it for today. I really appreciate all your support. Just remember everyone, bourbon is made for sharing. So open your bottles, make some memories, and I'll catch you in the next one.